welcome to the ACRL Corsa Racing League World Endurance Championship. We are live at the warm circuit of Monza for round 4 of the championship. We've had some great racing unfold over the last 3 rounds of the season. This circuit will certainly present its own challenges to all of the teams here this evening. Monza is the halfway point of the season, which means that all of these points available here this evening are vital to their championship hopes, which means we're going to see some great action unfold here, and no doubt we'll see will-to-will action between all of the teams. Now, before we go through the qualifying section, which is currently underway with the LMP1 cars going around the circuit, we're going to go through the order as they stand after 3 rounds of racing. So, Frits van der Zalm for JMT Hybrid with 200 points leads in LMP1 for the championship so far, followed by his teammate Luca Babito, also in JMT Hybrid with 195 points. So very close between the two teammates at this stage of the season, and no doubt they'll be fighting for that overall top spot for the Drivers' Championship as well. Tom is close behind in 3rd place, 184 points. He's a lone wolf, no team for him. And then Pazam, which is 180 points, so only 4 points adrift there as well. So to cover that, the top 3 positions in LMP1 alone are only 15 points apart from one another. So really good stuff here in the LMP1 category this far into the season. Then we have the first of the Supernova racing cars with Petrol, 176 points for him. And then we have Sultan Racing with 174 points in the form of Tony Rubio in 8th. And then we have Glebczynski with 174 points as well. That's a tied 8th place for the LMP1 cars. And then we have Sylvian Villette in the other Supernova racing car, 167 points for him. Hazy in 11th, 165 points. And then Puma with 163 points for him. And then for the F0 racing team, Only Vision with 161. So that's the LMP1 category for you. All the other teams are further down the order. And moving into GTE, it is Bas Boma in the lead with 159 points for that category. And then 2 points behind, by the skin of his teeth, just missing out on that overall top spot, is Matthew Pisani with Square Wheel Racing, 140... sorry, I do apologise, my mistake. It's Renz de Kock for Nassau Racing, 157 points, just 2 points behind. It's that close in this category. Then we have his teammate Rune Jansen, also for Nassau Racing, 156 points, so a further 1 point behind. Only 3 points separating the first position in GTE. And then as we go down the order, we have Luka Zek, 155 points. Sega Motorsport in the forms of Ada, 149 points. Square Wheel Racing once again with Matteo Pisani, 147 points. Then we have Manux in 144 points, and the rest of the order follows downwards. But right now we are in the qualifying session for the Monza GP. Of course, Monza itself, what a circuit. It's got so much history, so much heritage, and you cannot put a track like this down. It has Blancpain, it has Formula 1, drivers like Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, all the legends have raced here all the way back into the 1970s. Of course, Formula 1 here, the home of Ferrari, one of the circuits that they want to win every single time they come to this circuit. But for here, the guys this evening in LMP1, for now at least, it is time for them to put their best lap times onto this table to secure that overall top position. So what we're going to do now is run through the order for this session, and it is Frits van der Zalm who currently leads with a 130.728 on the timing board in their Brawn style paint scheme as they've come across the timing line right now, just to begin their next fast lap. Then we have Luca Babito, his teammate, right behind, 130.805, and Frits van der Zalm has just gone faster even now, 130.587, so a new fastest time there by the leading man. Then we have Petrol in 3rd, 130.997 for him, and he's of course way down the order in terms of the overall position. He's currently in P5 in the championship with 176 points, but of course a good position finish here could see him promoted up the order into those podium positions, so one to keep an eye on. Then we have Tom, 131.181, slightly slower than what the teams are putting on the board, and he just wants to get those few extra tenths of a second to get in those top 3 positions, but not able to do so just yet. Then we have R. Lewis in a 131.310 in P5. Rubio with a 131.386. Then we have Ruvix with a 131.748, and that's in P7. Only Vision is the first of the guys to get outside of those 31s, a 132.014. Once again, if he could just find that extra half a second or so, he could be in the top 5. Then we have Tsiba, 132.270. Then we had Villette, 132.325. Then we have Sheared and Sheared, 132.389. So those teams there between 8th and 12th, literally just a few tenths of a second between one another. Really great stuff to see. That's what we love when we have competitive endurance racing. We want to see all the teams hitting around the same kind of lap times. Then we have Nitrix in 12th, 132.397 as well for him. And Puma, 132.8. Serayan, 132.916. Hazy, 133. And then Mustang SVT, 141.914. That is the current LMP1 lineup for you. We'll try and keep you posted on any changes as the next few minutes progresses. Now, of course, they only have a small window to get this job done. 30 minutes of qualifying is presented to them, but they only get 15 minutes of those 30 to actually get the job done. So once that 15-minute timer runs out, they have to return to the pit lane, and they will need to go back into their garages so that the GTE cars can get back out on track once again. And it will be their turn to be able to put those fast lap times on the board. But for now, it is all our eyes on the LMP1s at least, and Fritz van der Zand still setting those really good lap times. Now, what's interesting about Monza is that I believe it's 70% of the circuit is at full throttle. That's the percentage of the circuit where they're at full speed, foot to the floor, and pretty much flintstoning their way around the circuit as fast as they can. But the trick to Monza is to get the balance between the corners and those straights correct in terms of your mechanical setup. So you need to make sure, especially with these LMP1 cars, that the aero package is able to stay stable, especially through the first hairpin, through the last sector, and the last corner as well, because there's so much power in these cars that the wheel spin could cause them a few issues, especially under high loads. So it'll be interesting to see. Of course, Fritz van der Zand is the fastest on grid at the moment, but it'll be nice to see how that translates and how that develops as the race progresses. How much tyre wear is going to develop? When's he going to have to come in for some new rubber? Of course, because tyre acceleration is part of this league, it is a thing, and yeah, anything can happen. Strategies will be implemented, and of course, how they manage traffic as well is going to be a big thing. And I've already said earlier that these points here today are vital. We still have a few rounds remaining, I believe 3 more rounds, and Monza is round 4 of the championship. But already we're seeing all these teams within striking distance of one another in terms of the points. Was it a DNF here or a bad result here, especially for the front running teams like Fritz and JMT Hybrid, could spell disaster for them and send them way down the order. And that's what Tom and Pazam are going to have to multiply on if a situation like that does arise. It's about seizing what you can, when you can, knowing when to push and knowing when to hold back and save the tyres, especially at a circuit like this. Now, good thing about Monza is that because there's so many straights, traffic shouldn't be that big of an issue this round. Of course, you've got the LMP1 cars that have such vast acceleration speeds and top end speeds as well that they can easily pass these GTE cars without any issues. But the issue that I foresee is the braking zones. Of course, going into turn 1, the chicanes, heavy braking zones, especially for the GTEs. They don't have ABS, they don't have anything to stop those wheels from locking up and seizing, so it's going to be purely down to driver talent to get past and through the rest of this race. And that's where the conflict or the bad situation could develop between these LMP1 cars when they do finally come up behind all the GTE traffic, is how they're going to get past them nice and safely when they're getting different performances in terms of brakes. Now Tom has just gone into second place, as has Ruvix into third. New times going on the board, so Tom's just done a 1:30.574, which is extremely close to what Fritz has posted on the board for us. He's just in the pit lane now, so we won't be able to see his time, or sorry, see him out on track. Fritz has gone back into the pit lane as well. Ruvix is one of the third cars that's out on circuit. He's just done a 1:30.612, so literally a tenth off the fastest time of this evening. And then that means that Luca Babito has been demoted into P4. He was in second place, not anymore. So great performance drives there from Tom and Ruvix, and they go into P2 and 3 respectively. All the LMP1s are in the pit lane now though, it seems. You still have Tony Rubio out on circuit at the moment. He's currently in P6 with a 1:31.09. See if he can improve. I'm not too sure if he's going to be summoned back into the pit lane on this lap around. It is a flying lap, so fingers crossed they will allow him to finish it. You can hear the hybrid technology in that Audi whirring away as he comes down onto the back straight. Doesn't seem to be going at full pelt though, so I believe that he will most likely be coming into the pits this time by. Yeah, he's coming into the pits, so now it is just a waiting game. We need to wait and see when the GTEs are going to come out. There's a fair few of them, starting from 17th place. There's 16 LMP1 cars here this evening. That's a huge number to have on that particular class, especially at a circuit like Monza. So while we're waiting for the GTEs to come back out, we'll run through the order for you, because it does appear that the LMP1s are no longer taking part. They've run out of time. So in the lead is Fritz van der Zalm with a 1:30.524, and then just by the skin of his teeth, Tom misses out on that podium position, 1:30.574 for him. In third is Ruvix, 1:30.612, and then in fourth, demoted just at the last minute, is Luca Babito with a 1:30.808. In fifth place is Petrol with a 1:30.997, and then we have Tony Rubio in sixth with a 1:31.009. Then we have Rob Lewis, 1:31.310, and then Nicholas, I'm going to try and pronounce this, Nutsibaka? I'm going to go with it. I'm going with it. It's 1:31.7. And then we have Only Vision in ninth, 1:31.724. Nitrix with a 1:31.915. Then we have Sylvian Vellet, 1:32.325. Neil Sheard, 1:32.389. Then we have Sarayan, 1:32.642. Puma with a 1:32.8 dead. Mustang SVT with 1:33.447, and then we have Hazy with 1:33.5. So that is your LMP1 standing order for the race. Qualifying now complete for them, and now we have to wait for the GTEs to come out onto the circuit to start their round as well. Do apologise about that. A bit of a thing coming up on my screen there. You can hear the roaring of the GTE cars starting to come into life. And there they go. So here they go out of the pit lane. One by one. Fingers crossed they give each other enough room as they start their warm-up lap. They have 15 minutes to prove their worth at this Monza circuit. Let's see what they can do. So currently on board with Boma for the time being. They go too wide down towards Ascari. Okay, so here come the cars down to Parabolica for the first time. Boma easing off just a bit to make sure that he's got a nice, clean qualifying run. Okay, here we go on board with the Corvette. So keeping an eye on the left-hand side of the circuit, braking at the 150 just after with these GTEs. Heavy on the brakes, make sure you go down into first gear and just carry the speed as best you can. Just feather the throttle and balance the power. Make sure you get a nice early acceleration on the exit of that first chicane and power down onto one of the first straights. Then under the bridge, this is your braking reference. There it is, 100-meter board on the left-hand side. Once again, down into second gear this time. Make sure you carry the speed through it. Again, make sure you don't overcook it in terms of the speed, otherwise the gravel trap will slow you down considerably on the exit. Then you go into Lesmo 1, carry the speed through in third gear, down into third again, a fairly slow corner. You can cut the inside curbing to get a nice clean run down the straight towards Ascari as well. So seems to be all going well for Boma so far. I have to wait a few more minutes until the times start coming in. Again, 100 metres down into third gear for this one. Again, ride the curves, not too much though, because you've got the sleeping policeman on the inside, and then accelerate nice and early so you get a good run down towards Parabolica. It's just coming up across the timing line now. Let's see what kind of times we are going to get from the GTEs. Okay, 147.2. So Boma goes into first. No, he does. He gets instantly demoted by Renstikot. He goes 147.149 is the new fastest time for GT. Then it's Boma. Then it's Jansen in third with a 147.279. So only a tenth of a second between the top three at the moment. Then we have Luquetz with a 147.741 and Adder with a 47.8 8. Of course, at this stage of the qualifying, it is going to change considerably as the session goes on, because everyone is setting their first 2 laps or so. And I usually find that on the first lap it's settling in mode. Usually drivers just find their reference points, make sure that they're happy with the car, make sure the setup is fine, the tyres are warming up nicely. Just don't be a bit of a tool and overcook it on that first out lap. So of course 1:47 is a fairly consistent lap time, but over the next few minutes or so we should be seeing some of those come down quite considerably. Hear the screaming Porsche go by down towards Parabolica. It's one of the only Porsches here. There's a lot of Corvettes in this championship. Must be either a balanced performance thing or maybe how easy they are to drive. Not too sure. Either way, there's plenty of them, and of course they all have their custom skins on and working, thankfully. We won't talk about Paul Ricard, where we had a sea of yellow Corvettes. Let's see if he can improve on his last lap time. No, he can't. Last lap 1:47.925. So no improvement there from Rennes de Coq. Now Bas Boma did a 1:49.131, so it's almost 2 seconds off the pace that last time by, so maybe he had some issues or let some traffic go by. Roos Jansen's last lap 1:47.3, so no improvement there, just a tenth off his best pace thus far. One person that is turning up the pace just a bit is Matteo Pisani, 1:47.473, so he's knocked off a few tenths off his previous time there, knocking Lucas down the order by 1 position. He's still doing a 1:47.539 as his best for the time being. Going down the order further, you've got Calamide, 1:47.574. Jonas Kobestein, 1:47.828, and then we have Ada, 1:48.652. Not his fastest lap though, just by a few hundredths of a second. And some of the cars are coming back into the pit lane. No doubt they'll still have time to go out one more time to set another few laps. Of course, going all the way down to 33 cars for this race. Of course, you've got the people at the bottom, such as Phantom and Samuel Vaffel, and ACRL as well. They're in the lower half of this grid. Slowest time on the board, 1:52.495. So fingers crossed he can improve on that one. He's still got time to do it. Still time to set a good, decent lap. And Bas Boma goes into P1, 1:47.005. Great stuff there by the Corvette driver. And of course, that is a fair bit quicker than what has been previously posted by Rennes. Let's see if he can respond. They're both still out on track at the moment, so we'll see how this unfolds in the next few laps or so. Now, Bas Boma and Rennes de Coq, of course, I've been battling throughout the entire season, and they are actually pretty much side by side in terms of the standings, as terms of points are concerned. Bas Boma is the current leading championship contender with 159, whereas Rennes de Coq for NASAR Racing 157 points, so only 2 points behind. So really close stuff here between these two guys, both in Corvettes, so no difference there in terms of what kind of performance we're expecting, other than, of course, their own driver talents and setup skills. Now, Red Scott looks like he's preparing for another run of laps. Currently on his out lap. And he's got 5 minutes to knock Bas Boma off that top spot in GTE. Down the main straight he goes towards the first hairpin. Nice, heavy on the brakes, good turn in for the initial part of the hairpin, and not a very good angle to judge on the exit onto the back straight. He has got a car behind him as well. Nice shift down to third, flicks and flames coming out of the side port exhaust there. Get a nice turn in here, nice ride of the curbs. Oh, a bit wide on the exit down of the second Lesmo there, so it might have cost him a bit of time because he would have had to come off the throttle to make sure that he had obeyed the track limits. Through Ascari he goes down to Parabolica. Looking out for that 100-meter board. Slam on those brakes. Look at the front of the car. Dip down towards the gravel. Or say gravel, I mean the tarmac. And then back up to speed using all of the run to the left-hand side of the circuit. And make sure he gets the most out of that top speed of the car, and the engine comes across the line. Last lap is 1:47.2, so it's not an improvement. So Rendscott remains in second place for the time being. Bas Boma has, it seems, done enough to hold off the charge of Nassau Racing for the time being, at least anyway. Another person that's out on track is Matteo Pisani. Now, Matteo Pisani is down the order in terms of the points, but clearly showing some good pace. He's 6th in class in GTE in the championship standings at the moment. And, if he can keep up this performance, he will be starting from 3rd in GTE at Monza. Oh, bit of a nasty exit on the second Lesmo, so that's going to stop his lap. I mean, it's quite hard to gain time at Monza as it is anyway. If you go off the circuit limits, then the chances are you're going to lose so much time from wheel spinning on the grass. It's pretty much game over. Your lap is ruined. So I guess they're fairly lucky in that respect. Ooh, a bit of a lag there from Matteo Pisani as he comes on the exit of Ascari down towards Paraguayca again. He's lost some time to Rennes de Coq, but that may work in his advantage because now he still has the slipstream, but he doesn't have to think about his braking zones being affected this time round. So let's see what kind of lap he's going to put onto the board. He's got a learner badge on the back of that car as well, in between the Corvette logo. So I don't know if he's trying to tell people something around Monza this evening or not. Comes across the line. 1:47.955, so that's not an improvement at all. It's actually 0.7 seconds slower than his personal best, so he does not improve either. Now Rennes de Coq has taken the lead back. That is an amazing performance. Rennes de Coq 1:46.846 on the board, and Bas Boma did make an improvement, but it was not enough. 1:46.887, so literally nothing separating these two front-running cars, and we are going to get some good wheel-to-wheel action from these two lads this evening. checking on the timing, seeing if there's any improvements for some of the guys. Now where is Basbome? He's just coming down onto the back straight now. He's slower in Sector 1 by 0.02 of a second. And he's also slower this time around in Sector 2. In fact, it's not even green this time by. So it's not going to be an improvement this time around for Basbome either. Is he going to be able to start another flying lap? .147.38305. It's not enough. He needs to get it right this time by. Basbome on his last remaining lap then, because we are into overtime now. Wow, massive sideways. The rear of the car trying to overtake the front there into the first corner, and just gets on the power nice and early. What's the first sector time going to be? It's going to come up underneath the bridge. 32 seconds. So how does that compare to what is being posted elsewhere? It's on pace. He's about a tenth slower actually. Come to think of it, 138.674 for his sector 1 time. Don't know why it's saying 31 seconds on that board there. Sector 2 is just coming up on my screen now. It takes a bit of a while to load up, unfortunately. Let's see if it's an improvement this time by 34.322. It is an improvement, 0.2 seconds on Renz de Kock on that last lap. So is he going to be able to improve this time by? It's looking good. He needs to get better than a 33.9 for Sector 3 in order to take pole position. He's the only GTE currently on track, and is he going to be able to publish it in time? Using all the track once again, full power, go Basbome. Let's do this. Oh, and he goes into the pit lane. Oh, okay. So they don't even allow you to finish your flying lap. That is a shame. Okay, we're going to cut to the adverts now, guys, of course, because it is a fairly long time until we get to the race session. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the full race. We'll see you soon. Hello and welcome back to the live stream. We are live at Monza for round 4 of the CEST Corsa Racing League World Endurance Championship. Right now, the warm-up lap is in progress, and for those of you that have joined us, we'll run through the top 5 cars for each class, and that is Fritz van der Zalm managed to post an amazing lap time to secure that important top spot for his team. And close behind is Tom. Now, Tom is in third place in the championship standings, but is only just by the skin of his teeth missed out on that all-important top spot. And then Ruvix as well was only a few tenths behind in third. Then we have Luca Babito in fourth, who was about maybe 3 or 4 tenths slower off the pace. And then we have Petrol in fifth. Those are the top 5 for the LMP1s. And then for the GTEs, we have Renstecock, who set a last-minute scorchingly fast time, and then Bas Boma was not able to respond. We thought for a second he had that secured top spot, but it was not to be. Last minute snatched away from him, and he lines up second place on the grid. So good action between those two guys before the green flag. Then we have Matteo Pisani in third, followed by W. Lecatz in fourth, and then we have Janssen in fifth. The rest of the grid lines up as you see it in front of you. Now the warm-up lap is in progress, and it will be Fritz van der Zalm who controls the lead of this race as they enter the main straight once again. Of course, a third course, so there is no safety car, so therefore it is down to the leading car to dictate when they will start between a designated zone, and that is the main straight of this race course. Of course, they're now warming up their tyres. You can see Luca Babito in the background there in fourth place, doing so very nicely. As they come down towards the Parabolica, they will go too wide before unleashing all of the horsepower that they have when Fritz van der Zalm decides to put the pedal to the metal. GTEs are further down the order, of course. They leave a gap between themselves and these LMP1 cars to avoid any unnecessary carnage, should there be any, come turn 1. But all eyes are on Fritz van der Zalm right now as he comes into the last corner. Cars lining up too wide, waiting for that moment to go racing. As the pressure builds up as the heartbeat starts to race, and waiting for that ultimate moment when Fritz decides it is time. And we are racing. Fritz van der Zalm gets an amazing start over the rest of the grid, gets his foot down, and already there's a fairly substantial gap between him. But Tom's coming back, using that that energy system to come back at him at full speed. And then we have Luca Babito up into third place. Luca Babito into third as he comes down into the first chicane, demotes that position away from Ruvix, and Petrol is in there as well. He's in P4, and there's a lot of lag and cars are flying everywhere. That's a bit bad, but we've seemed to have regained some stability now. Ruvix is in third. Fourth. Luca Babito is in the podium, and Petrol still in fifth. Going back down to the GTEs now, because they are about to start their run down into the first chicane. Renstecock is in charge of this start, and he decides that he wants to go racing now. Renstecock accelerates over the start-finish line, and Bas Bobota decides he wants to defend the inside line for turn 1. Follows Renstecock over to the racing line and peeps down the inside. Is he going to be able to do it under braking? No, he thinks better of it. This isn't the right time to do so. No changes in the top 3 for the GTE class, and then we have the likes of Rune Janssen and Lucas also holding on to their positions. There is a few changes in the order further down. Phantom moves up by 2 positions, and then Oversteer and Le Pen get demoted down into 24th and 25th respectively. But let's go back to the leading car now. 0.7 seconds. They're just about to complete their first flying lap. Fritz van der Zalm has the advantage though, 0.8 seconds as he comes across the start-finish line this time by. Tom is close behind though, followed by Luca Babito. Laps are coming in now. 138.815 for the leading man, followed by 139.5 for Tom. Bit slower at this stage of the race, but still hanging on in there. Luca Babito is, I've just lost it on my 139.581. So very close competitive times between them. And then Ruvix, of course, missed out big time after Luca made the move down into turn 1. 141.414 for him. Going back to the GTEs once again, because it is still close action all around the grid. Resnicock still leading by a few tenths of a second. The question is for how long. He's got to lead of 4.8 seconds as he comes down the main straight once again. Slipstream is still in effect for Basboma and Resnicock. Then we have Matteo Pisani hanging on to that third place for the time being. Lap time 1:53.338. Next person down is Lucats, 1:54.266, but only 0.5 seconds adrift there as well. Pisani still hanging on to the slipstream of Basboma, so he's still in the fight for these top positions as well. Then we have Lucats and Janssen going side by side as they come onto the exit into the first straights of the circuit. This is for 5th place in class. Nice defending there from Lucats. He takes that position back that he previously lost to Rune Janssen at the start of this race. A bit of, I think I saw some flashing headlights there from Janssen, obviously showing his discontent at losing that position that early on. Person that is on the chart is also Puma. He's made 3 positions up from in the LMP1 category, doing extremely well in his very light blue LMP1 skin. Great start from him. And also Mustang SVT up by 2 positions as well. So a lot of overtaking going on in the LMP1 field at this moment in time. Phantom as well in the GTE up by 3 positions, as is Ada up by 3 as well. A lot of teams going up in 3s. Ace Rod down in 29th up by 4 positions as well. And the rest of the teams, of course, going down the order. There's a few mistakes, especially from Volters, Bafel and Oversteer as well. He must have suffered from some form of understeer. I just had to do that, I'm so sorry. But it's out there now. Fritz van der Zam still extending his lead, 1.5 seconds now. You can already see some of the GTE cars down at the bottom of the screen going into the Parabolica. And this is going to spice things up quite nicely for us as Tom comes into the corner as well. Needs to do something in order to catch back up to Fritz, but this is what he needs to do. Currently he is 3rd in the driver standings, and he needs to make sure that Luca Babito finishes behind him if he's going to take that position away. 15 points away from the overall lead of the championship, so Tom knows that these points are vital to catching Fritz and Luca, who are ahead in the points. Some of the other LMP1s as well coming up behind these GTE cars. You can hear the screaming Porsche going down towards the 2nd hairpin. And this is the difference I was talking about. Look at the brakes, because just nearly, Petrol nearly collided with the back of that Porsche RSR as one of the Corvettes goes wide. Which one is that? I do not know, because it's not coming up on my screen. Don't think he lost too many positions as he went wide into the 2nd of the hairpins, but Petrol nearly went into the back of that 911 RSR. And that's what I was saying earlier in qualifying, that the braking performance between these 2 classes is so huge that they just have to be extremely careful about where they decide to brake. Of course, with the LMP1s, they have to do it a lot earlier than what they're used to. And it was, I think it was Calamide that went wide in the 2nd hairpin. I'm not too entirely sure, if I'm honest. Now Ruvix has regained some ground. Of course, he did start in 3rd place for this race, and of course this traffic is causing havoc for the LMP1 class, because right on his tail Luca Babito has got some trouble on his hands, because Ruvix, Petrol and then Natsiba is only just a few seconds behind, a few tenths. He's looking down the inside line, no thinks better of it. Of course we have Petrol behind as well, just managed to get past that GTE car just in time, tucks himself back onto the racing line and able to get through the hairpin nicely. Now Ruvix is on a charge. He's got the nice hybrid Toyota skin and he's choosing the inside line. Interesting, not the one I would have chosen, because you've got the GTE traffic there, and it's holding him down. Just manages, just by the skin of his teeth, to get by. A little tap from one of the Corvettes, and Petrol's trying to go around the outside. That's a bold move. Doesn't work out though, gets pushed onto the gravel and no luck there. Has to wait until he gets onto the inside of the first Lesmo before he can get that job done. That's cost him a bit of time though, and Ruvix as well, because he's now stuck behind one of the GTE cars. This is Matteo Pisani in the Corvette, and of course all these LMP1 cars going in between these battling GTEs is splitting them up nicely. So Renstokoc now has an advantage of 0.8 seconds as they come into Ascari. These are the leading GTEs, remember, that we've got on our screen alongside these LMP1s. Then Matteo Pisani, not so lucky, he's dropped behind just slightly by about 1.5 seconds or so as they come all down towards Parabolica. 5 laps now complete and 1 hour and 9 minutes remaining. Fritz van der Zalm still leading the way. Last lap was a 1:32.811, with Tom doing a 1:34.180. So a bit of a time difference there between the two cars. And Ruvix has lost out quite a big chunk of time to Luca. Last lap, oh, it's about 3.5 seconds now. And now he's in trouble himself because Petrol is close behind in 5th, and no doubt trying to get past him to score those important points at this stage of the championship. And going back to the GTEs, we do have some battles further down the order. Of course, we know what the situation is up at the front of the grid, but we've got a lot of action going on here, especially between these cars. Phantom is defending against Le Pen, and is he going to be able to get the job done? There's an LMP1 there in the midst as well, and making sure that maybe he just didn't want to go for that overtaking manoeuvre at this stage because he knows the LMP1 could pose a threat. Down into the first Lesmo he goes, not able to take advantage of it, but he's got a nice tight exit there, a lot better controlled there by Le Pen compared to the exit that Phantom was able to muster. And this is where it's going to cost him a lot of time. Not as good as exit as Le Pen that time round either. So he's just playing the waiting game. Got to choose his moment very carefully about where he's going to overtake, either down to Parabolica or into the first hairpin. That would be the best place to do it because you can control the exit speed then as the hairpin restricts 2 cars going into it. 0.2 seconds between these 2 cars at the moment. We're going to keep an eye on them as they come down. Of course, that slipstream will be taking effect, and he's going to get the LMP1 as well. He's across the rear bumper of the number 3 car of Phantom, but not quite enough, and he's going to get a good run. Here goes Phantom. He's running wide, using more of the track than what is needed, and Le Pen's going to get on the throttle earlier. Surely this is job done for him, and this is going to be enough to secure this position away. Side by side they go down the back straight, and Corvette civil war going on here, and here comes the LMP1 car. Decides he wants, ooh, massive braking there from the LMP1 behind. I'm not too sure which one that is. It might be Only Vision. It's the number 45 car. Both go too wide into the hairpin. No contact made. Nicely controlled there by both the cars. And there goes the LMP1. Goes through. If the camera angle changed just as we was watching them, but they were switching, and obviously Phantom was moving around and trying to defend his position, set up his car nicely, and the LMP1 just had nowhere to go. He was going to go in between them, but that closed very quickly, and he had to slam on the anchors to avoid getting a collision on the main straight there. So still a lot of work to do here by this team, and we've missed an overtake, and that was by Bas Bomer on Renstokoc. It's literally just happened on the exit of the second Lesmo, so I do apologise, we've missed that. 1.5 seconds separating them as they come down in towards Ascari. We'll switch to these guys because of course this is for the lead of the race itself. Not much of an issue for Bas Bomer at the moment. He's got a nice clear track ahead, nothing to worry about other than the lap times. So Renstokoc is more confident under braking, but Bas Bomer able to get on the power a lot sooner. That's the importance of that last corner. You need to get it right, perfect it each time, otherwise you could find yourself in trouble on the exit. Now Renstokoc of course does have the slipstream as well, so that is in his favour this time by, but is not gaining any ground on Bas Bomer's car. As he come down heavy braking into the hairpin of turn 1, the 15 car defending well and getting the job done. Nice exit of the hairpin. tyres are now displayed on the right hand side of your screen for you, for those of you that are interested in strategy. Now, of course, the interesting thing here is Fritz Dunzam and Tom and Luca Babito are all taking medium tyres, whereas pretty much the rest of the grid behind them are all taking softs. And as far as the GTE is concerned, they're all taking soft tyres, other than the exception for Calamide, who is on his medium set of tyres as well. So maybe we're seeing that tyre degradation is different once again for the different classes, and it all depends on what their strategies are in the long run, whether or not they're going to double stint or change over to softs for the first time when they go into the pit lane. Bit of a gap emerging between Bas Boehmer and Rins de Kock now, 0.9 seconds between the two of them. But so we'll go back to our previous battle, which was between Phantom and Le Pen, as they're coming towards Ascari now. Of course, this is for 6th in class. Not close enough to get the job done this time by, but as we saw on the previous lap, we know that Le Pen is better on the exit of the last corner, so fingers crossed he can get the job done. He is closing, especially with that slipstream in his favour. Last lap was a 149.303 for Phantom. Chemo Le Pen 149.053 as well. So he was faster that time by, but not enough to get the job done, unfortunately. Go to the leaders of LMP1, because Fritz van der Zalm is leading by, not by much though, because Tom is right on his heels, 1.5 seconds as they come on the exit of the hairpin down towards the second. Traffic there for Tom, not what he's looking for at this stage of the race, but he's closing the gap quite nicely, especially with all this GTE traffic. Now what he needs to happen is for Fritz to be stuck behind some GTE cars as he goes in towards Ascari, then he can take full advantage, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen because Fritz cuts away through past the Corvette and able to get a nice clean run onto the back straight. Great stuff. And then we have Luca Babito in third place. He's got 1.5 seconds between himself and Tom. So it looks like maybe JMT Racing looking to take another 1-2 here this evening at Monza for round 4. Just manages to get past that GTE. He's made up a ton of time coming into the first corner there, but compromised the exit a bit as a result. Of course, that isn't important to him. He just wants to make sure that he's not going to be held up by any GTE traffic. He knows that Luca's behind and that he needs to get through the traffic as quickly and safely as possible to continue or uphold his chances of taking home second place or even first this evening. Of course, these points would help Tom out so much in the championship standings. A first place would certainly close that gap down to Fritz and Luca, and maybe even possibly, depending on how the other two guys do, put him at an advantage and take away that second place. Bas Boehmer is still fighting with Rins de Kock, 1.5 seconds between the two of them now, and Phantom and Le Pen is still fighting as well, 0.5 between those two. We're going to go between these two LMP1 cars though, because they are really going for it. Rob Lewis currently defending P7 in class against Rubio, Tony Rubio on the attack. Both are Audi R18s. And will Rob Lewis be able to get past the GTE? The answer is a no. So it's all about the exit speed here. He's going to be held up by the Ferrari. And who's going to get on the power soonest? And that is not Rob Lewis. He loses out of the position to Tony and gets demoted into P8 in class. That was great advantage taking there by Tony Rubio, and gets himself moved up by one position. Of course, now Tony Rubio started in P6 at the start of this race, as you can see via the lovely tool that we've got in front of you on your left-hand side of the screen. But he still needs a lot of work to do. He's got to make up another 2.5 seconds before he can retake that P6 position that he started off with. Now Ruvix in 4th place in the LMP1 category, of course, is looking to retake his position, which was 3rd place, which is currently held by Luca Babito. However, it doesn't look like it's going in his favour at this moment in time, because Ruvix is struggling to keep up with the pace of the top 3 running cars. 3.5 seconds between himself and the next competitive car. And then we also have Petrol, who is in P5 as well. He's looking to take that position away and make his life even harder for this round. Now using all the hybrid power as they come down onto the main straight once again. Just look at the difference in speed compared to these two classes. That was obviously both cars at top chaff there, maximum power by both of them, and yet the differences in how fast the LMP1s can pass. And Petrol tries to get an undercut. Is he going to be able to get to do it on the power earlier than what the Ruvix can? Doesn't seem like he's got as much hybrid power stored up though to be able to put it on the table at this stage of the race. He may be storing it for later though, because to be honest, coming into this corner isn't the best place to overtake, because then you have to defend for the rest of that lap until you get some more energy, and that might not be the ideal thing to do. So Petrol definitely had the advantage there coming out of the first hairpin, but we'll see how that develops over the rest of the lap. We know he definitely looks faster at this stage of the race. Petrol really on a charge, and it looks like Ruvix is simply defending with the hybrid boost that he's getting on the exit of each corner. Obviously that is stored up from the braking energy that these cars generate as they slam on the anchors for corners such as Ascari and similar. There is a bit of a gap between them at this stage though. We'll leave them be for the time being, because there is a closer battle going on or taking place, and that is Matteo Pisani and Rens Janssen, 2 wide down the back straight as they go. Now Rens is going to have the advantage here because he has the slipstream from the LMP1 car ahead. They're 2 wide, and Matteo Pisani actually gets cleared entirely before they even get into the last corner. Is he going to be able to come back at that position though? This is for 4th in class. He's getting closer, pulls out to the outside line rather. Janssen's going to defend on the inside, both heavy braking, and it looks like Janssen's done enough to defend the position for the time being. Another lap goes by. Last lap was 150.187 for Matteo Pisani. And here come the LMP1 cars. Oh, careful lads, make sure that you stay on the inside line and make your intentions clear. Oh, Jesus, Petrol swoops right in between the 2 GTE cars. Just thinks, I want to make sure that I don't have to come off the throttle, and just slices right between them. Very lucky that that actually worked out quite nicely for him. No contact made, nice and clean. But I wouldn't have liked to have been one of those GTE drivers in that moment in time. There's a few battles unfolding in front of us. Here comes Only Vision and Velette. They're fighting for 12th in class. And it looks like Only Vision's going to lose out on that position. So the number 2 car gets demoted into 12th place. And Velette moves up into 11th, so he's regained the position that he had at the start of this race, because he did actually lose out on a few positions. So Only Vision not having a good evening. He's down by 3 positions from where he started, and a lot of work to do if he wants to make sure that he regains those. Another battle on our hands. We've got a Bind Major and Samuel going toe-to-toe through Ascari. That's a very scary moment. There's one thing I know not to do, is to go too wide through Ascari, because there's very little rear end grip, especially when you're on the power for the exit down to Parabolica. But Bind Major seems to be able to get the job done, moves up by 1 position. He's up by 9 positions overall in that 911 RSR. That's a great performance by that Porsche. He's currently in 9th in class as a result of that, so he's in the points already, which will bode well for his championship hopes. Of course, he's not competing for the lead of the championship itself, but of course everyone has their own battles and goals in these championships. Now Bind Major trying to get on the power, not as good as the car behind, but manages to defend. Samuel 0.3 seconds behind. And here comes that Corvette power down the slipstream, heavy on the brakes. Look at the glowing discs on the inside of those wheel arches. Now, here's the Corvette, got enough power to get the job done. He's hanging on. Here's the gaining. Is he going to go down onto the inside for Ascari? Yes, he is. Too wide into Ascari for the 2nd time on the next lap, and he gets the job done. Bind Major gets demoted back into 10th in class. A bit of a wiggle there from the rear end of that Porsche 911, and manages to rustle it back under control, and they both make their way safely through that section of corners. But scary stuff. I really am nervous whenever I see battles going on in Ascari, because usually it ends in tears. Now we have Ace Rod, who is behind in 11th place. He's under attack by Calamide, and that is another Porsche versus Corvette battle going on there. And of course they can still fight for the positions ahead as well. So looks like the top positions for the latter half of top 10 and beyond is very interesting indeed. Ace Rod coming down the main straight. The LMP1 car's going by. I think that was Fritz van der Stam. Yes, it is, because here comes Tom. He's now around 1.5 seconds behind. And look at all of these GTE cars going through the first corner. Tom gets back underway. That cost him a fair bit of time. 2.5 seconds for the LMP1 driver as he comes round the outside, goes the long way round at full speed to get past all of this traffic. Manages to get it done fairly quickly and slams on those brakes to close the gap as much as possible. Here comes Luca Babito down on the inside. That's going to cost Ace Rod a fair bit of time. Goes over the policeman, and that has allowed Calamide to go through. So bad luck there for Ace Rod. Not really sure that there was much that he could do. Luca a bit impatient there, because technically Ace Rod was already turning in before he made that move, so a bit cheeky from the LMP1 driver. And he's been demoted down to P13 as a result now, so there's 2 positions that Ace Rod has lost as a result of that move. There's a few battles going on all over the place. We have Mustang SVT. He's down at the bottom of the LMP2 order, but he's fighting with Sarayan down the outside. Just goes to show you don't need to be the fastest guy to have some fun in this championship. Nice and early on the power, takes that position away, back up to P13 for him. Then we have a battle on our hands between Night Trucks and Ruvix. Now Ruvix has had further complications for his drive this evening. He's now down into P8. Night Trucks takes that position away as they come into Parabolica in the last corner and powers away down onto the main straight. Nitrax is behind Ruvix, not able to defend that position. He took it back as he came down into the braking zone. So back into original position for Ruvix, Nitrax and Puma. It's the three-way battle for 7th place. All the GTE cars are getting out of the way fairly easily. Of course, that's because of the huge difference in top speed and acceleration. And Mustang SVT is still racing with Sarayan because they've just swapped positions again. He did go down to 14th for a small moment there before going back up the order into 13th. But back with Ruvix and this three-way battle. Look at this, 1, 2, 3 LMP1 cars going for it at this stage of the race. Into Ascari they go. Nice bit of curbage taken there by Ruvix. Stays away from the sleeping policeman on the inside line and then powers over to the left-hand side of the track to make sure that he's got a bit of touch of grass there. Don't want that. Saw the rear of the car wiggling around. All of that power going to the rear wheels of the car, and you do not want to mix that with loose earth because that would just be a very nasty way to end your evening here. But luckily he manages to struggle the car, or wrestle the car back into submission. I'm sure that would have scared Nitrax and Puma, who are close behind as well. Not much they would have been able to do at those speeds and being that close to one another. Now Ruvix nicely done on the inside of the pink Corvette there. It's going to give him a bit of breathing space on the exit of the first hairpin. Of course, there is still a battle between Nitrax and Puma. It's now 1.5 seconds to Ruvix, who's made a bit of a getaway. Not much, but it's still enough to give him a bit of breathing space and a time to adjust to the situation and understand what's going on around him. And who's that off in the gravel? Who's that off in the gravel over there? I think that might be... It's not Ruvix. It certainly isn't Ruvix. I think it might be... I can't actually find out who it is. All my timing has gone wrong. But there was a LMP1 there off from the gravel, and that was in the exit of one of the first Lesmo in between the two of them. And here comes Puma down too wide on the back straight. No, he decides to tap back on the inside just by a feather between the two cars. This has surely been enough. He's got the optimal racing line. He needs to now just let the car decelerate naturally and ease back onto the power. Not able to get it done though. A bit impatient for Puma there as he runs wide on the exit of the last corner. Is he going to get the job done coming down to turn one? There's a Ferrari 488 in the way. No, Puma not able to get past the GTE traffic, but the number 2 Audi R18 is. And that is great news for Nitrax because now he can have a bit of breathing space. But amazing stuff there by Puma. Nice undercut. Waits for the Ferrari to straighten up and take the outside line, and then just uses that hybrid power to just zoom past at full speed and regain all of the ground that he's just lost, because already he's on the rear bumper of that number 2 Audi. Tucks in behind, or in front of one of the Corvettes, continuing his charge. 45 minutes remaining already. We've had around 20 or 30 minutes or so, and a new fastest lap set by Tom, 1:31.677, but he's still got a fairly large gap between him and the leading man, 1.4 seconds or 1.9 seconds even as it stands. And then Luca Babito, 3.5 to 4 seconds adrift from those two leading cars as well. So it's still fairly close between the top 3 running LMP1 cars, but of course with the speeds that they're travelling, 2 seconds is a hell of a lot of time. Now Hazel is moving up the order as well. He's currently made 5 positions up from where he started. He's currently in P11 in class and fighting Sylvia Villette for that position. They're coming down the main straight now. Of course, this is for P10 in class. There he goes. Hazy makes another move. He's now in the top 10, rounding out the last remaining position for that class. Now Sylvain Villette won't be able to let him go that easily. And we've got Only Vision there as well. Another trio of LMP1 cars. Sylvain Villette looking down the inside, of course. That means that Hayes is going to have to defend on the inside as they go underneath the bridge. Heavy on the brakes they go. Still too wide, still too wide. He turns in, bit of contact between both the front and the rear wheel arch. And Sylvain Villette makes contact with Only Vision as well. He's trying to take advantage of these two fighting LMP1 cars. Down the outside he goes, not able to get the job done. They're still too wide as they come into the second Lesmo. Now what Only Vision needs to do is just back off and get a nice undercut, but he doesn't. He goes too wide again. Nice room given between all the cars here. Bit of contact, a bit of an exchange of paintwork, but overall nothing serious. Now Sylvain Villette's defending on the inside for Ascari. Decides to come back, rise, but he's back up into the track a bit, and they're going too wide. This is going to be disastrous. As he comes into it, they've cleared each other as they just about get to the exit. This is great, great stuff. Good racing from all involved, and this is for 11th place between Only Vision and Sylvain Villette. So it just goes to show that they understand that all the points gained here this evening are extremely important to where they finish in a few rounds' time. Now we haven't actually looked at the GTE field in quite some time, and that's because there's been so much good wheel-to-wheel action occurring in the LMP1 category. We'll go to the leader of GTE just for a second, and it is still Bas Boehmer that leads the way for the time being, obviously 3 laps down from the next LMP1 car already. And then we have Rens de Kock 3.5 seconds behind him in second place. Then we have Lucas holding on to third, 4-5 seconds of drift from these two front-running GTE cars. And then we have Rens Jansen 3 seconds of drift outside of those podium positions. Matteo Pisani, get my words out, is in 5th, and he's around 1 second behind Jansen. So could see a battle occur here in the near future as well. But right now the closest battle that we have on grid is between Sylvain Villette and Only Vision. 0.5 seconds, and that is one of the cars that's gone round, and that is Puma, I think. Yes, it is. Puma's been turned around at the exit of Lesmo 2. So bad news for him. Obviously all that hard work that he put in to get up into that position has all been undone. He started in 14th place. He made up so much ground, making up all those positions and even getting into the top 10, and it's all been unravelled in a matter of seconds, and he goes back to where he started just all before the green flag was flown. But there's still a battle between Sylvain Villette and Hazy. They're still going for it, and we only have Only Vision here as well. I'm not going to be able to get a breath in for the time being, and disregard that, because Frits van der Zalm is under attack by Tom. 0.4 seconds between these two guys. There is just so much action in the LMP1 category. There's a bit of lag there from the server, but it's now been rectified. 0.4 seconds as they come down towards Parabolica. He's going to have the slipstream. There's no traffic ahead of him. This will be the prime opportunity for Tom to take the lead of this race. Now, another thing to consider is when they're going to start coming into the pit lane for more fuel and exchange of tyres. We know that Monza isn't a track, and there I said it, I had a feeling that it would be time, and Tom does indeed come into the pit lane. So does Luca Babito. He's decided now is the prime time to come in and get some more fuel, rechange those tyres if needed. They may be double stinting them, because we know that Monza doesn't have that great of a tyre degradation. But we'll soon find out what is occurring. Frits van der Zalm continues in his 787 car. He decides to stay out for one extra lap or two before he comes into the pit lane. A bit of breathing space now. He needs to just possibly push just a bit harder. He knows that he's on his own. He's not under pressure from anyone behind. He doesn't need to defend anything. But what he does need to do is post some damn good fast lap times before he comes into that pit lane. Otherwise, Tom is going to take full advantage of the situation and roll on into first place. We're going to keep an eye on this just in case he does decide to come in this time by. We'll have to wait and see. 40 minutes remaining left in this race though. There is no breathing space in this whatsoever. I'm actually just having to view Frits van der Zalm in a hope that I can actually get more than 2 breaths in before I have to speak about another wheel-to-wheel battle again. This is great, great stuff here this evening. Another battle going on between Nicholas Nutsibaka. Does Fritz come into the pit lane? No, he does not. Tom, where has Tom come out? He's come out in P9 behind Mustang SVT. So he's going to have a few issues in terms of traffic at the moment, and be interesting to see how quickly he can get past all of these guys without impeding his own race. Luca Babito, where is he? He's just coming into the second Lesmo now. So he's lost a fair bit of time to Tom as it stands, around 5 seconds in fact. So not a good pit stop for Luca Babito. He's lost quite a few seconds compared to Tom. Now Tom's going into P8. He's taken the position away from Mustang SVT. Good job. Now he needs to continue focusing and get those lap times down. This is the moment he's been waiting for. Use the slipstream, use the advantage, and just make sure he does everything perfectly to make sure that he gets the lead of this race. Now, depending on how they drive, they may need another splash and dash before they get to the checkered flag, or if they drive carefully, I'm not sure how a CEST course works with different engine modes and power, they could maybe stretch the fuel to the end. 38 minutes remaining. Of course, it was 40 minutes when they decided to go into the pit lane. Whereas Fritz van der Zam, he's still going around the circuit at the moment. He hasn't decided to come into the pit lane yet. So interesting stuff. He's just coming into Parabolica now. Surely he must be due into the pit lane now. Yes, there he goes. Stuck behind the GTE car, but that doesn't worry. It doesn't impede his entrance into the pit lane. So all eyes on Tom now. Where is he? He's coming into the second chicane. Powers down, gets past all the GTE cars. Got a nice clear bit of track ahead. This is perfect news for Tom. Although he gets a bit of a nasty exit into the first Lesmo. Better for Lesmo 2. Now power down, use all the hybrid technology, all the boost available to get that Toyota down the back straight as fast as possible. Fritz van der Zam still in the pit lane, still waiting for those new set of tyres, still waiting for that fuel to be loaded into his car. Here comes Tom down now to Parabolica. Is he done enough to take the lead of this race? Fritz van der Zam still in the pit lane. He's away. He's away already. Tom's still coming into Parabolica. This is a huge advantage for Fritz van der Zam. He's going to make a huge margin against Tom before he's even got back up to speed. Here comes Tom over the start-finish line. The seconds are rolling down and counting down as we speak. He's into the first chicane now, and Tom is just entering our view and entering the first corner now. So it's about 5 seconds between the two of them. Yes, it is. Just settling down now for 6 seconds, currently separating Fritz van der Zam and Tom at the end of the first round of pits. Now, whether or not they need another set of round of pit stops, we'll have to wait and see how they drive. But personally, I do not think they need it. But we will just have to wait patiently to see what their fuel consumption is going to be like. Where is Bas Boma? Of course, the GTEs have a larger fuel tank than the rest of them. Some of them have already come into the pits. The likes of Renslikok and Lucas have already decided that it's time to get some more fuel. And of course, there is fuel acceleration for the series as well. So I'm expecting to see Bas Boma to come into the pit lane shortly in due course. That means, though, that 33 seconds behind and in second place is Kimo Lepenen. So he's currently going around the circuit in second place, and Calamide is in third. But as I just mentioned, a lot of the GTE guys did come into the pit lane at the same time as the LMP1s. So currently in the lead of the race overall is Tony Rubio. Of course, he has not come into the pit lane yet. He's on a different strategy, it seems. And it'd be interesting to see what he can come up with to surprise some of the front-running teams, perhaps. He's obviously got something up his sleeve if he's going this far into the stint without having to go into the pit lane. And Fritz van der Zam is just entering turn 1, or exiting turn 1 now. So there's a fairly large margin between the two cars, 30 seconds or just under that. Mustang SVT is up by 11 positions, but he still needs to pit as well. And what he's doing is he's holding up the second place championship holder, Luca Babito. So this is not good news for him. He needs to make sure that he gets past all of this traffic and catches back up to the rear end of Tom's LMP1 car if he is to make sure that they don't close the gap in the championship or driver standings. But Mustang SVT not having any of it, saying, I belong in 4th place for the time being. I don't get to spend all day here, so I'm going to enjoy it while I can. Now, of course, it's within their interest to hold up the front-running cars because, of course, once they go into the pit lane, that's going to reduce the gap between them and the front-running cars. So don't expect Mustang SVT to just simply pull over and let Luca go by. This is still a race 4 position, although they are on different stages of their tactics. Now, when is Mustang going to come down into the pit lane? He's still going strong. He's just given up the position to Luca, who had an amazing run at the exit of the last corner, and he's moved back up into P3 as a result. So Mustang down into 4th. And the reason that they were 4th just originally just then, but one of the other cars went into the pit lane as a result, so sorry for the confusion there, just thought I'd clarify that. Some battles going on in the GTE category as well. So here we have Bas Boma, he's just come out of the pit lane as well, so now we have a new leader in GTE, and that is Kimmo Lepenen. He's in 1st place, but he still needs to come in to the pit lane to get some new tyre and fuels. Bas Boma is demoted to 2nd place by 8 seconds adrift. And then we have Calamide in 3rd. Now, what's interesting is that Calamide is separating the 2 front-running cars, which is Renz de Kock in his orange Corvette just close behind there. He's going to be eager to get past as fast as he can because he knows that Bas Boma is getting away in the distance. There he is in our camera shot as he goes down towards Ascari, and they're going too wide now. It looks like Calamide's going to defend on the inside. There won't be enough power in that Corvette to clear Calamide before they get into the braking zone. Both slam on the anchors, but it looks like Renz de Kock has enough room and space and speed to get past without causing much of an issue. So back into 3rd place goes Renz de Kock. Great driving from both the guys. Enough respect given between them, and here comes Renz de Kock's challenge to knock off around 3.5 seconds before he can reach the back end of Bas Boma, which is about double the time before we went into the pit lane. Yeah, there goes Calamide. He goes into the pit lane, gets some new tyres and fuel, which isn't surprising, as does Lepenen as well. So Bas Boma retakes the lead of the race for the GTE category. We are back to normal, folks. Another battle raging on in LMP1. Silvio and Violette defending P12, so he's moved down slightly from the last time that we saw them. Only Vision is close behind by 0.8 seconds as they come down towards the last corner. Bit of a gap emerging there, quite fast as well, 1.7 seconds as he comes down to the start-finish line. So I'm not too sure what's happening to Only Vision. Bit of a different strategy when it comes to the boost there. And here we have by Major, the gorgeous 2 blue cars, blue Corvette and Porsche going side by side. This is for 11th in or 10th in class rather, and he is under attack by Jonas Koberstein. And great racing there from the 79, gets the job done, and now he is in to the top 10 in class. Fastest lap from Luca Babito, 1:31.5. So he's on a mission to try and catch up with Tom. He means business, and he's 1.2 seconds behind at the moment. Tom himself 5.7 seconds behind Fritz van der Zalm in the leading LMP1 car. So things are going to heat up for the podium positions in LMP1 very shortly as well. We'll keep an eye on that as best as we can. Lovely sound from the Corvette engine as they come down towards Ascari once again. Another battle going on just in the distance as well. This is Ace Rod once again defending his position from Vaffel. Oh, bit of a tap there coming into Parabolica. Just a bit of a nudge on that rear bumper for the Porsche, and the Corvette just manages to stay in control as well. I think there was no malicious act there. It was just simply a misjudge of the braking zone from Vaffel, and just tapped the rear end of Ace Rod. Obviously he straightened up as soon as he could to make sure he didn't plough through the poor bloke. There's a bit of breathing space for Ace Rod there in his lovely painted K&N Porsche 911 RSR. And something has happened at the front of the LMP2 field. This is just new in. Tom has been demoted down into P3 by around 4 seconds. So something has happened to Tom, which has allowed Luca Babito to move up into second place with a 4-second lead. So somehow he's knocked off all of that time. And bad news for Tom. Of course, we were hoping that he would gain some points in the championship to bring the fight closer for the overall lead, but unfortunately it doesn't look like that is happening anytime soon. He needs a lot of work to do. Still 28 minutes remaining. There's plenty of time to rectify the mistake, whatever it was, and get back in on the action. Back in GTE, we've got Ruin Janssen still fighting fiercely for 4th place. He's defending the position from Matteo Pisani, who's attacking it once again. Of course, that was originally Pisani's starting position, just outside of the podium. So no doubt he'll want to regain those points going forward into the next few rounds. Currently being separated by 0.7 seconds as they come into the first of the Lesmos. LMP1 cars going by. Oh, server lag once again. Oh, Jesus, you saw in the background there, 2 of the cars lift off and head towards the moon. But that's interesting server lag for you. It happens in no matter what sim you go in. It's the problems that sim racers have to put up with. Have a battle going on between Nitrix, and this is for P7. Nicholas Nutsibaka taking that position away. Great driving from him. Very white or pale blue LMP1 car there in the form of the Toyota. And it seems to me that sometimes the Toyotas have that small advantage on the initial power side of things, and they sound a lot better as well, in my own personal opinion. Definitely the Toyota is one of my favourite LMP1 cars. Of course, speaking about real life motorsport, it's just a shame that there was no real competition for this season. Of course, this season is still ongoing in terms of the World Endurance Championship, because you've got 2 Le Mans races. Of course, the next one due in around June time. But I just wish that the balance of performance was integrated more for the LMP1 category, because let's face it, Toyota have such a huge advantage. But here comes Vaffel. He's under attack. Oh, sorry, he's trying to attack Ace Rod as they go 2 wide down into the first hairpin once again. Full power from that Corvette as he comes into the braking zone. The bushes on the left are usually the reference for braking, and down into first gear, takes the outside line, gets cut off by the K&N Porsche, and back up to speed once again. It was a bit cheeky from the Porsche there, but of course it is the overtaking's car responsibility to make sure that they do so safely. still retain their relative positions. Of course, there is a battle for 12th place overall. And we've got Bine Major as well, the Porsche that we've been keeping an eye on for some time. He's also in the midst of this battle as well. Second Lesmo, nice curb control. Nice line down to Ascari, full throttle. And there's going to be a good battle here. This is for P11 in GTE. Too wide between Vaffel and Ace Rod as they come down towards Ascari into the braking zone. Bine Major decides to defend but thinks better of it. He doesn't need to just yet. Through Ascari they go full throttle, and here comes the massive power from all of those engines. On the rear bumper of Bine Major now, are they going to have enough power to get close enough? Look at the slipstream advantage, and here comes one of the LMP1s as well, down into the braking zones of Parabolica. The 77 going wide on the exit, and here comes the other Porsche. Here comes Ace Rod into P10 he goes. Great racing there from that Porsche K&N driver as he zooms past onto the main straight. Is Bine Major going to have enough to come back at him though? The slipstream is taking effect. He's going to go around the outside. Interesting choice of lines. He did have room to go down the inside if he wanted to. A seizure of brakes, and Bine Major has done it. Amazing move there. I know he nearly... Oh my god. I wasn't too sure if he was going to pull that off or not, but Bine Major manages to wrestle that Porsche back under control. He rode the curb on the second exit there and has unsettled the rear of that Porsche just slightly, but that was an extremely well played move. Sees the tyres, didn't think it was going to stop in time. Once again going too wide into the second of the hairpins. Great stuff going on here in the back end of this GTE field. Oh, a bit wide onto the exit of Lesmo 1. Needs to be, just keep it calm. Make sure that you don't overcook these, because it can easily be turned upside down on its head, and that's the problem when you're fighting wheel to wheel with other people. The adrenaline does usually take over. You get a red mist come over your eyes, and that's when mistakes can start to happen because you're not focusing as much, you're not realizing the speed that you're carrying. And there's a contact between Ace Rod and Bine Major into the braking zone of Ascari, and that is disaster for the driver for the Porsche, and it looks like Ace Rod has lost out as well as he tries to concede. That was just a great battle that sadly ended in tears. Vaffel is further down the road there, entering the corner. Ace Rod looks like he's conceding the position to Bine Major. He just lets him go past. Good sportsmanship. Of course, he wasn't intentional at all. Just, as I said, a bit of adrenaline just takes over, and they just sometimes get a bit silly with themselves. They try to push the car just that extra bit, extra more, and sometimes the car just says, no, I'm not having it, and will spit the dummy out. Now, Bine Major has entered the pit lane, so I believe that the damage that he sustained is far too much for him to continue. Or maybe not, he's coming in for a splash and dash so that he can finish the race till the end. But whatever the outcome, I'm sure we'll find out very shortly. But a very sad way to end that battle. Going back to the LMP1 field, 9th in class, Mustang SVT doing very well, 6 positions up from his original starting point in qualifying. Then we have Puma, who did have a great run, up by about, I think it was almost 7-8 positions, yes, but made a mistake and went back down the order again. He's making another recovery drive, now into P10, so he's 4 positions up from where he started, so still a good drive, and now 0.7 seconds behind Mustang and ready to take that extra few points away from him. Bine Major did actually leave the server, so clearly he's not a happy bunny, unfortunately. So he won't be continuing the race. And also another DNF is Only Vision. Only Vision in the LMP1 category has gone down the order at the bottom of your screen there, so unfortunately he won't be continuing the race either. And Puma goes through, no issues there for the driver. He goes a bit wide, deep into the Parabolica though. Here comes Mustang on the counter-attack. Both got similar speed going towards the first corner. Doubt we'll see a manoeuvre happen here. puffs of smoke coming from Mustang's car though. A bit of breathing space for them. Now 1.5 seconds. Right, let's have a look down the order, see what other battles we've got ongoing here for you. Yeah, we've also got another DNF in the form of Ron Lewis. Yeah, the battle between these two cars is the closest that we've got at the moment. There is a battle between Ace Rod and Nico Anders ongoing, and this is once again for 12th place. So Ace Rod moving down the order, and we just had another person DNF as well, that is Jay Volters, so another person bites the dust. Only 28 cars currently running at the moment, so unfortunate to see, but that is racing sometimes. 0.2 seconds separating Mustang and Puma right now as they come into, or the exit of turn 1, around the outside of the Ferrari 488. It's a fairly nice overtaking situation here this evening. We've only seen a few scary moments, and as predicted they were into the braking zones of some of these high-speed corners. Or low-speed corners, rather, I'll correct myself. But other than that, of course, when you're accelerating around the outside towards the next set of corners, it's been fairly relaxed and easy for these LMP1 cars to navigate their way around the traffic. So, not much to worry about there. Now, looking ahead and into the lead of the LMP1 and the race overall, it's still Fritz van der Staan leading by 5.5 seconds over his teammate Luca Babito. However, he has lost a slight bit of time to his teammate Tom, sorry, not his teammate, the next car Tom, who is only 3.5 seconds behind Luca. So we could see within the next few moments a battle occurring for second place in class. We'll have to keep an eye on that as best as we can. In 4th place we still have Petrol. He's holding on to P4 very nicely. 10.5 seconds adrift of those podium positions though. And then we have Tony Rubio in 5th with 16 seconds adrift. He's also having a very good day. He's moved up by 1 position, as has Petrol. However, Ruvix, the person who did start in 3rd place, having a very bad evening, 24 seconds down off Tony Rubio in 6th. So not a very good weekend for him. And of course, someone has to go down the order, but I didn't think for one moment he thought it was going to be him. Things are slowly starting to calm down now. I mean, Mustang has got a nice chunky lead of 1.5 seconds. That could change in the next few moments or so. By what we've seen so far this race, anything can happen. Stuck behind a GTE car as he comes into a Ascari. Not the most ideal situation. Let's have a look at the leading GTE cars. Bas Boma is just beginning his next lap. And Renz de Kock is behind as well, this time by 5.2 seconds. So it's still a competitive time. So let's have a look at their last laps if we can. Last lap time for Bas Boma, 1:47.189. The lap time for Renz de Kock was 1:47.573. So he has lost a bit of time on that last lap alone. We'll probably put that down to LMP1 traffic. It usually is when it comes to these two, as they're very competitive with one another. But slowly but surely, at least at this stage of the race, the favour is swinging towards Bas Boma taking the victory for that class. Mustang and Nitrax are fighting over P8. Nitrax on the defence in his number 2 Audi R18. And here comes Mustang SVT. Of course, all of these cars are on a great drive. Nitrax has made an improvement of 2 positions since qualifying, but Mustang is up by 6. So as to be said, he is definitely in the most favourable position right now, and that, if anything, gives a driver confidence, knowing that you're doing so well in this race, going forward through the grid and through the order, especially in a class as competitive as this, will give him that extra boost when he needs it, when he finally gets within striking distance of Nitrax. He's got a nice tight line on the entry of Parabolica that's going to help him on the exit of the last corner down towards the chicane once again. See what the timings are as they come across the line. 1:33.5 for Nitrax, 1:32.8 for Mustang SVT. So he's on a charge. He knows he's got the faster car for the time being. He can see that number 2 Audi getting just that bit closer each time, and he goes down on the inside. Wow, nice move there, and Nitrax gets demoted down into 9th place, whereas Mustang SVT moves up the order. That's great stuff. And what's interesting about that is, of course, that Nitrax is on soft tyres, whereas Mustang is on mediums. So very interesting, different tactics and approaches to this race. And maybe it's just that the soft tyres aren't hanging on as well as some of the others. And actually, we've had a car go down the order. I can't believe it. It's one of the leading cars. Fritz van der Zam is in 1st place, but Tom is in 2nd. Where has Luca Babito gone? He's just disappeared off my timing screen and I can't find him anywhere. Where has he gone? Oh, he's there. That's my mistake. I did panic for a second, but it's this different board here. It just cuts out apparently the 1st and 2nd place car. So my apologies for that. I didn't mean to panic, everyone. Luca Babito is still in 2nd place. I was looking at the timing board and I was thinking, he's gone. He's disappeared. Something has happened. We've missed something else. But it isn't. It's just my stupidity. So everyone can relax now. Still though, on the same, while we're on the matter, Tom is still gaining ground. 2.2 seconds adrift from Luca at the moment. Let's have a look at their last lap times as they come across the timing line. 1:32.780 for Luca. Tom, however, 1:31.9. 0.6 seconds quicker on that last lap alone. So very speedy for this stage of the race. And of course, that's provided no GTE traffic was involved in Luca's last time. Now, the leading car, which is Fritz van der Zam, last lap time that he did was a 1:32.7. So it looks like Tom is in a league of his own for the time being, at least. He's really turned up the volume on that engine because he's knocking off 0.6 seconds, not just on Luca, but on Fritz as well. So if he can keep up this performance, he'll be in a good position in 11 laps' time. .8 seconds, that gap is closing ever so slightly as he comes into Ascari. It's getting closer and closer. Toyota Hybrid using all of that power down towards Parabolica once again. Of course, I wish I had some more corner names to pronounce. There's not really many at Monza. It's all just about these straight line speeds, perfecting these exits. Here we go, back on the power once again. Just feel the raw speed from this dash cam that we're viewing right now in Tom's car. Luca gets stuck behind the Ferrari 488. He comes into the 1st corner, puffs of smoke from all 4 corners of that Toyota brawn painted car. Now we're in the action. 0.9 seconds. Tom knows he's within striking distance now. He must do. He can see Luca's car just ahead. What we're seeing is what he has in front of him as well. Heavy on the brakes, Could have used a bit more curbage on that first hairpin, a bit too much on the exit, if anything. And here he comes into the second, or the first of the Lesmos. First of the GTE cars is in the way. It's the number 3 Corvette. Powers down the inside, gets rid of him. Out of the way he goes, but not so much luck for Luca. Here we go. Here's his chance to strike. Tom looking right behind Luca Babito's LMP1 car, looks left, looks right, and trying to get pushed wide. Luca defends massively onto the grass. Tom goes, manages to come back onto the grey stuff just about by the skin of his teeth. Very, very aggressive defending there by Luca. Here comes the powertrain though, because he's got the slipstream, and there goes that energy boost. That is Luca's defense strategy as they come down into Parabolica once again. And you just knew that Tom was taking advantage of that situation. He used all of the high bridge energy available to him at that moment in time to try and get past, but Luca just shut the door straight away as soon as he realised what was going on, and that nearly, very nearly caused a collision between the top 2 LMP1 drivers. Coming into turn 1 now, heavy on the brakes for both of them. Tom's gained a bit of ground under braking, but not much. Now all of this fighting between the two of them has allowed Fritz van der Stam to gain a slight advantage, 0.7 seconds between the two of them now. What Tom needs to do is get past as quick as he can, because if this pace can continue from what his previous laps have shown, he can easily catch Fritz van der Stam based on his performance on a lap-by-lap basis. This is absolutely great, great, great stuff. Once again, the same place. This is on the exit of the second Lesmo. Bit wide there for Tom, just a bit too much speed through the corner, and that's allowed Luca to get away. This is not good news. Using the hybrid boost to regain that ground, get the slipstream back, but we know that Luca saves all of his energy for the exit of Ascari. So we're expecting him to gain a bit of ground on the exit here. Is he going to be able to get to do it? No, he's not. He's gaining ground. Tom is gaining past the GTE cars on the left. There's another LMP1 car ahead. He's going to go down the outside of the last corner, and that means that he can get on the throttle early, surely, onto the last exit. No, it's not. It's not enough. Not just yet. He has the patience. He knows that he can do this. 7.5 minutes remaining in this race. He needs to be patient. He needs to choose his moments carefully if he is going to take away this second place. Bit of seizure of the brakes there. He has to give room because there's another LMP1 car behind him, and that cost him a bit of time as he goes over the curbing on the inside of the exit of turn 1. Not good news for Tom. You would have hoped that the LMP1 car would have given a bit more room, but there you go, that's life for you. He did obey the blue flag rules, it's just that he just didn't get out of the way just that quick enough. Tom is really pushing now. You can feel the tension in the air here at Monza, because these guys are really going tooth and nail right now. Though you know that these points are important, Tom desperately needs to get past Luca to make sure that he gains ground at the end of this race, so that when he goes to the next round in 2 weeks' time, he's just that extra bit closer to taking that second position away. Right now it's 15 points between Fritz van der Stam, who's leading the championship, and Tom himself, so he knows that he needs to get past and just close that gap to Luca in the meantime. 6.5 minutes remaining though. Has he got enough time to do it, and has that small mistake on the exit of turn 1 cost him that second place? We'll soon find out. We're going to stay with them for the time being, at least 1 second separating the both of them. Tom needs to just literally refocus and get on with the job. There's GTE cars going left, right and left again just to get through the traffic. Not posing much of an issue though. 1:33.2 was the last lap. 0.5 seconds. Tom's really good on the brakes, and there's a bit of a twitch there from the rear of that Toyota hybrid car. Wrestles it back under the control again, but that's cost him half a second. Back to 1.5 between the two of them now. Just needs to focus that extra bit more. This is really important that he makes his next few laps as smooth as possible as one of the Corvettes seizes and nearly takes out Luca Babito and just goes head on over the sleeping policeman and into the runoff area, but he's still ahead of Tom. Tom needs to get past very quickly. Down on the power on the exit of the first Lesmo, gets that job done nicely. 1 second now between the two teams, or sorry, the first second and third cars in LMP1. Past the GTE he goes, under the bridge down towards Ascari once again. This is a vital information that he needs. Please do not screw this up. This is great stuff. We want to see toe-to-toe, wheel-to-wheel racing in the last 5 minutes of this event. And we're going to switch over to some of the back marker LMP1s because they are, in fact, going toe-to-toe. And even, in fact, we'll go one better than that. Ace Rod and Anders are going wheel-to-wheel at the moment as they come down into the second of the hairpins. It's all heating up here in the last few minutes of this race. Ace Rod has to concede position. Nice dive down into the position by the number 3 Corvette and gets the job done, and that is for 13th in class. Now back to Babito and Tom. There's a bit of a gap between them now, 0.9 seconds as they come into the exit of the first corner. Where's Tom? He's there. Puma knows that he doesn't want to get involved in this. He knows that they're racing for these all-important podium positions. So he moves over to the left-hand side of the track and says, go on through, Tom. I'm not going to interfere with this result. 1.3 seconds as they come into the second hairpin. It's slowly slipping away for Tom. He needs to find some pace somewhere. He needs to do something if he's going to take away that second place. Another race going on between Samuel and Calamide. This is for 8th in class in the GTE category. Another one into the hairpin. Can he get it done? Too wide. Manages to defend, but here comes the undercut. Amazing racing from both of them. They make contact. That was extremely close. I thought that maybe for a second that Calamide was going to have a snapback and take out Samuel, but that didn't happen. Luckily, just by the skin of his teeth, managed to wrestle the Corvette back into submission and continues his attack. This is for 8th in class, I do apologise, not 9th. And yeah, we're going to keep an eye on these guys for a while. Tom has now dropped back 2 seconds behind Babito as they come across the start-finish line. This is not good news. He needed that extra ground. He needed to stay attached to the back of that JMT racing car, and it's just not happening for him. Here comes Samuel and Calamide down the back straight. Side by side they go. Samuel's going to have the defensive line coming into the last corner, and here comes the 243 Corvette dazed in the inside, and that is an amazing undercut. Just what he tried to do on the second hairpin, which didn't work, has worked here, and that is 8th in class. But here comes Samuel on the return attack. Is he going to have to get the run back down into the first corner? Calamide is going to have to surely go defensive in order to protect that position. Looks down the inside, thinks better of it, not able to get the job done, just not close enough just yet to make the pass. For 2 minutes remaining. Whew. I have to say, things are really heating up in this race. Back with Luca Babito and Tom. 1 second separating them as they come down onto the back straight once again, going past the leading, Rennes Scott's orange Corvette. He himself is about 7.5 seconds adrift of the leading GTE car. And the start-finish line for what must be the last time. Lap times are about 1:32, so I believe this will be the last lap of the race. We'll just have to wait and see. Actually, no, it won't, because Fritz Tanzam is just up the road by around 5 seconds, but he will not be in a position, or he will be in a position to add 1 extra lap to this race. Tom got stuck behind one of the GTE cars in the second hairpin there, and there's a car around. There's an LMP1 car turned around in the middle of the track on the exit of the first Lesmo, gets it back underway quite quickly. No incidents and no one collected as a result, which is quite nice. Here comes Luca Babito down the inside of the Ferrari 488. He goes. Here comes Tom as well. Is he going to be able to make it in time? I don't think he is. No, he's not. So he's going to be stuck behind this Ferrari through Ascari. That makes a nice little rhyme there, doesn't it? Ferrari Ascari. And it's now 2 seconds between them both. Is Fritz van der Zalm going to be able to start another lap? I'm not too sure. 15 seconds remaining as he powers down onto the back straight, and it will be one more lap left before the checkered flag is flown. Yeah, the last lap time made by Tom, 1:33.2. It was 1:32 from Luca Babito, so it is sadly slowly slipping away from Tom's hands. It looks like he's going to be finishing in third. What a great race this has been. We're just entering the last few final corners from all of the drivers here this evening. This has been great to watch, and I hope you guys have enjoyed watching it as well at home. It's just been non-stop action throughout this entire race. Battles all the way down the order, and even still ongoing now, especially between some of the lower GTE field cars as well, especially between ACRL. That's been a great battle to watch. That top 10 or out just outside the top 10 of the GTE pack. That is great stuff. And we've had one more DNF, and that is Nils Sheard. He's no longer finishing the race. He finishes 14th in class, but I'm not sure how they classified DNFs here. But all eyes on Fritz van der Zalm. He is going to take victory once again for JMT Racing. Great performance from the start of the race. He's led from the start to the finish, and he takes another win home for his team. In second place, Luca Babito. It was uncertain, but he takes it home in second place and extends their championship lead over the rest of the cars. Tom comes home in third after a valiant effort to take home second place, but it was not to be. Sadly, a few things interfered at the moment when it counted the most, and that resulted in a fatal result. But still, third place, great finishing points, and no doubt he will be looking to get that second place for the next round. Here comes Bas Boma in the GTE class. Great victory for him as he defends from Rens de Kock, who is in second place in class. Where's he gone? There he is. Right, he's just coming across the start-finish line there. So good stuff from him. They both extend their championship leads respectively. However, Rens de Kock losing out by an extra few points to Bas Boma. In third is Luca Zek. He comes home in third, finishing out the last remaining podium positions for the GTEs. And we still have a few cars going around at the moment. Matteo Pisani and Phantom as well. This is for P5 in class. 0.5 seconds between these two guys as they come across the start-finish line. Great race by Phantom there as he makes up 6 positions from his starting position. Then we have Oversteer coming across the line as well. That's P7 and Samuel, who's also close behind in P8. And then we have the rest of the grid rolling across the line, obviously all doing donuts and parking in silly places as sim racers do, especially those signs. We don't need those. But that has been an amazing race this evening, guys. I've really enjoyed watching this round. It's been absolute action from start to finish, and you can't make that stuff up. So to recap, just for those of you that are joining in and have just finished watching or taking part and you're just joining at the end of the stream, Fritz van der Zalm, Luca Babito and Tom extend their championship leads, as does Bas Boma, Ren de Kock and Luca Zek. So next round we are going to let's get the calendar up for you. Mugello, so 18th of November 2018, 90-minute race. And I'll have to be honest, I've never actually been to that circuit. I've never raced there personally, but I'm sure it'll offer us, especially if Monza's giving us races like this, then no doubt it will be one hell of an event. So don't miss out. Make sure that you hop on to the stream as and when that goes live. But I'm signing off for tonight, guys. Thank you very much for watching. It's been an absolute great race to commentate on, and I will see you all around. Goodbye.